there was legislation that Senator Dennis Rodriguez at the time introduced that would remedy decades of GovGuam encroachments and taking of land without going through eminent domain. I understand that that was your idea.
Yes,
Legislation.
absolutely.
What was the reason?
But let
What
me
was the
say
primary
that
reason?
when I was governor, I tried as much as I could, but thwarted by Mark Forbes and the other people in the legislature from even thinking about it or moving forward. So in 2014, during the campaign for governor again, when I was speaking in Mauricio particularly, several people, one in particular I knew, pointed over to a couple of power poles sitting in a yard somewhere. So that's our property there, and we want it removed and maybe get paid for the use for the last 4 or 5 decades. But they said for me to go get a lawyer, or a surveyor, and do all the research, right? And of course they can't afford that. So after that, the following year, I think at that time I was trying to draft something to put the owners on the backs of the agencies of the government of Guam, the departments, agencies, waterworks, power authority, and I drafted that with the help of some people, with Joshua was even helping me. He was at the court at the time, trying to take a look at what's the best way to accomplish this. And so once we got it pretty well done, I asked Mike St. Nicholas if he would introduce it. He had just become senator at that time. And he said, "Oh God, let me give it to somebody else that can carry it through, whatever it was. I don't know, he wanted." So he gave it to Dennis. And he had some co-sponsors. Frank Altman, I think, was his committee. Eventually, Tina Moon of Yarns. But they dragged it on. They just didn't want to pass it. It went 4 years. The following election again, it went by. They reintroduced it. I asked, but they never got it out of committee. So I saved it. When this thing was going on with Cortec, right? When I particularly heard Simon on radio saying, "Where are these hundreds of people that are going to be suing us?" Well, there are hundreds of people. Believe me, from what I hear, they just decided. I'm even one of them, but minor. For the property I eventually bought from my family. But these guys are not caring for when they put the owners on people's backs, they can't afford it. I can't afford to what they did to Stella Beloy in Jigo, charging her $36,000. Well, they charged me like 2 meters, right, $7,000 each, and then we were ready to settle. I didn't want to pay it because I didn't use it. There was no leak anywhere. And they even tried to tell me, "Oh, it was a backflow." And I said, if it was a backflow, that means I never used the water. It went right back into the system, right? So, but they have a lawyer. They send a lawyer out. So I found a lawyer that was arguing for me back and forth, pro bono. And then when it got to the point where the next step was go to CCU to appeal, but he wanted to charge me. And he says, "But to let you know, it's going to cost you 3 or 4 times more than what you're trying to get back." So I said, "Never mind." I took it and was looking for somebody pro bono to do it. I was going to do it pro se, but I just got tied up with GVB and all that. But that's where the bad thing is. Putting the people that can't afford, don't have the resources to fight these big guys. So I had that drill drafted. I don't know if you read it, but it really speaks up the process. Sets up even a land court, set a 5-year time limit so that this thing can move forward quite rapidly. It's not going anywhere. I hope somebody else. I gave it to some people to try to get some senators to reintroduce it and maybe bring it out. I know it's going to cost a lot of money, but still, you can't make money and charge people the exorbitant amount of money for power and for water, and using their property as an asset to go out and get bonds. You see, so all of these things are the fact is that I don't want to go down dying and neglecting a lot of these grassroots people.
A couple of things about these grassroots people. One, I'm supposing that many of them don't even know that their land was encroached upon, and so how do they, if they suspect that their property has been encroached by either Public Works, GPA, GWA, whoever, by the government, how do they go about finding out? And then secondly, what do you call it? I lost my train of thought.
Well,
Yeah, how do they go about finding out?
if you see that, you know, this thing doesn't look sitting well and you look like it's in your property, then you make a claim to Waterworks, for example, that you know the sewer line under there or power or water lines, and the owners goes back to them, they go and search, and you prove that you took it, you know, properly. You show me the documents that you had it surveyed and you took it as an easement at that time, right? Way back then.
And there was
for
just
45
compensation.
years. So the onus is on the department to prove to these people, you pay for your research, or just go into your files and show me that you own that property. That's all I'm asking you. Because a lot of people have questions. Like I said, this was brought up particularly in Mariso, where they can just point out all these power poles. And you know, so when you do that, then Maria and Tunusei will have an opportunity to say, yeah, I believe you are my property. And then when they come back with their research, that no, we took it at this date. It makes it easier, right? Because they have all the files. Instead of them getting a surveyor, getting a research person to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this, it's on the backs of the agency that claim they own it.
So a couple of things. Isn't it also possible that the government of Guam may have to refund property taxes to people because their assessment was incorrect?
If in fact they prove that they did not take it properly, or if they prove that it's proper, then why are you taxing it? And you know, as if it belonged to me. So those are the two ways that the homeowner will win, either way. Okay? Because most of these people, if they were taken properly, their tax roll is still showing the original amount of land that they have. So yeah, I think it's a win for the grassroots people.
How much do you think this might affect the assessment of land insofar as our debt ceiling would be concerned?
I don't know, but certainly that's not a problem for Tan Maria to be thinking of.
Yeah. And so back in the Calvo administration, when I remember I was there for the conversations when Rodriguez's bill came up, and there was an estimate that this would cost the government of Guam $1 billion.
Yeah, even the Interior Department came out with figures about how, you know, much it would cost, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, if in fact Waterworks, for example, is encroaching, and then maybe you can give them free water for a long time to pay it off, right? There's a way to do it. It's not going to cost you the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, but there's a way to you know, mitigate the situation and to redress this dastard deed that this government did. And in those days, the government of Guam was like a bully. They just go in and say, "I'm going to build a road here," and you know, they don't complete the paperwork.
Like the Manolo Road, the Manolo meeting in Sinaloa.
Fonte Maina Road, like that.
Hamburger Road is another.
Any road they're opening up, they just take it, you know. And so it's about time somebody makes it right. And when you said a lot of people don't know, it's because those people that do know have passed away, and sometimes it didn't go down to the next two generations.
Do you think Simon Sanchez knows about this? Because he made a statement on Ray Gibson's show asking, where are the hundreds, as though he wasn't aware that government has freely encroached on so many different properties.
Right, but I don't know whether there has been claims made, but it never, if there were claims made, it never got to the point where it was settled, because at that time the responsibility was back to the claimant, and they don't have that kind of money to be able to prove it. Now you prove it that you took it properly. We reversed the situation. That's what I thought was laying down one night, how can we do this? And I came up with the fact, put the onus on the government side to prove that they properly took it.
And that's what this legislation was.
That's what it's doing.
Oh, because
and to speed up the claims process.
Okay. Now last week we interviewed Court Tech attorney Pete Scrow. And he said that GWA does not realize that they opened a Pandora's box with this whole lawsuit that they have against Cortec, a private property.
Yeah, it's crazy because, if they don't know, certainly they're figuring out how to soften the blows out there for themselves. They're hiring public relations people, and they're scared. Believe me, that if this thing gets opened up, that they know that in the past it was slipshod the way they go out against the people. Just took their property and says, well, if we take your property, you're going to get water anyway. That's not necessarily right because it serves the other part of the community.
So if you were in charge of this, if you were on the CCU or in charge of GWA, what would your advice be?
My advice would be to get your research team and go in, because when we turned over Waterworks and GPA, they took the easements from GovGuam, so it became now their...
In 1997.
Yeah, it became now their responsibility. Okay, so those are the things that you have to start researching. You better start researching. You better hire some land surveyors and find out if you really do own it, and start making redressing this situation.
So you once personally sued GPA for inverse condemnation on your personal property, and the Supreme Court unanimously held in your favor. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
They in essence were given a right to put in power poles by the Navy, but when the Navy returned the property back to my mother's property, I noticed that the power poles that were supposed to be in the easement actually went inside the property, and I was asking them to remove it. I can't lease out the property because they're on there, and they said no, we got permission, and so we ended up in court. And one of the GPA guys said, well, the Navy gave it to us, show us the documents. He said, well, we can't find it. So that's a good situation where you can't lay claim on it and say the Navy gave it to us when you can't even find documents. So they ended up settling with me.
So and of course you had to spend.
And then they moved all their poles.
You have to spend a lot of money for that.
Yeah,
lawyers.
Yeah,
right?
$38,000.
People don't have that kind of money.
Of course not.
The grassroots don't. Is this why we have? You ever just kind of drive around anywhere? You see a gigantic cement power pole that's inside a gate or inside a fence.
Yeah. Those are the things that these guys better go and start researching whether they in fact are encroaching or the homeowners have gone outside, their property and into the easement, public easement.
Is this why also sometimes GWA bills you for a leak that, according to your map, is not on your property, it's on the public easement, but according to GWA, it's actually inside?
I don't know what their claim is, but with mine, they told me that it was a backflow, and my only argument back that any sensible person can say, if it's a backflow, that the meter is turning, then you got the water back.
How can regular people, fight the extraordinary power of the government? Because the GWA,
I hope that some senator will stand up and reintroduce this bill 185, I believe it was, and get it out of committee. Don't let it sit there for 4 years and play games with it. Get it out, and I don't know why they didn't want to put that. I'm sure somebody stepped in from the agencies and Public Works and Waterworks and GPA and said, man, don't do this, it's going to kill us. And maybe they said, okay, then we won't get it out on the floor. But somebody's got to do it for the people who want.
On this issue of the Pandora's box, just to wrap this up, Governor, I know you're very busy. Do you suppose that this time GWA bullied the wrong person, Cortec?
I mean, yeah, with the deep pockets, tell me about it. Thank God for Cortec. I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but it certainly gives hope now to the grassroots that may have been bullied in the past. Now maybe they have a hope that some senator will have the BOLs to introduce this bill and do it.
Thank you, Governor. You're still the one, man.
Thank you. Viva Kandit.